Gaslighting doesn't always come with a speech. Sometimes it looks like an eye roll, a smirk, a raised eyebrow, a tiny sigh, and suddenly you feel small. You're in the middle of sharing something that matters, a worry, a boundary, a story that hurt you, and they don't argue. They don't fight, they just look at you like you're ridiculous. And that's all it takes, because now you're shrinking, backpedaling, laughing awkwardly to cover the sting, questioning whether you were overreacting in the first place. This is how fake friends gaslight you, without saying a single word. They know how to make you feel foolish for taking up space, for having needs, for being human. They don't engage with your truth. They dismiss it through body language. No direct confrontation, just subtle disapproval. Just enough nonverbal contempt to knock your self-esteem down a notch. And the worst part, if you call them out, they deny it. I didn't even say anything. You're so sensitive. You always take things the wrong way. Now you're doubting yourself again. Now you're the one apologizing. Now you're the one doing emotional damage control for their behavior. It's quiet but powerful because it teaches you over time that your feelings are inconvenient, that it's safer to say less, to show less, to need less. And once you stop showing up fully, they win. They get your silence without ever asking for it. But here's what you have to remember. True friends listen, even when they disagree, even when it's uncomfortable, even when they're not sure what to say. Respect doesn't roll its eyes. Love doesn't mock what you feel. So if someone consistently makes you feel small just by how they look at you, it's not all in your head. It's a message. And it's time to hear it for what it is. Sometimes the loudest gaslighting comes from the quietest moments. You're hurting. You finally open up. You say the hard thing, maybe for the first time, and in response, nothing. No, I'm here for you. No, that sucks. No, tell me more. Just silence, a blank stare, a subject change, a quick scroll through their phone, and you're left holding your pain, alone, ashamed for even speaking it aloud. Fake friends don't always react with cruelty. Sometimes they react with absence, with emotional vacancy, with the kind of silence that tells you, your pain makes me uncomfortable. I'd rather not deal with it. And so they don't. They withdraw. They look away. They pretend not to notice. And when you finally stop sharing, they never ask why. But here's the truth. Silence is a response. And when it follows vulnerability, it's devastating. You start to question if your feelings are too much, if your sadness is a burden, if maybe it really would have been better to just keep it to yourself. That's the internal erosion fake friends count on, because now they never have to be responsible, never have to hold space, never have to say, I don't know what to say, but I care. Instead, they get to disappear emotionally and still look like the good guy, because they didn't say anything wrong, they just said nothing at all. And you'll walk away from that conversation feeling lonelier than before you opened your mouth. But don't confuse absence with neutrality. Don't mistake passivity for peace. True friends show up when it's messy. They don't always have the right words, but they try, they stay, they care. And if someone meets your pain with distance instead of presence, that's not kindness, that's quiet rejection, and it's time to listen to what their silence is saying. You're not being dramatic. You were trying to be honest, to share something personal, something that took a little courage to say out loud. And they laugh. Not a gentle laugh, not a laugh with you, but one that lands sharp, one that cuts. You brush it off, you force a smile. You act like it didn't sting, but it did, because fake friends don't always mock you with words. Sometimes they do it with tone, with timing, with a joke that sounds light but lands heavy. You say you're struggling with something. They joke about how dramatic you are. You talk about a dream you have. They crack a line about how you'd never actually go through with it, and you laugh along, because what else can you do? But inside something closes. This is how emotional gaslighting works without a single direct insult. They make your feelings a punchline. They turn your truth into comedy. And then they act surprised when you stop opening up. They say, relax, I'm just joking. Don't be so sensitive. You know I love you, but love doesn't humiliate. Friendship doesn't diminish. Support doesn't arrive with a smirk. And the result? You start editing yourself. You start holding things in. You stop being real, because you know what's coming if you're too open. A jab, a laugh, a side eye from someone who claims to get you, but here's what they don't tell you. That mockery is a shield, a way for them to avoid intimacy, to avoid accountability, avoid having to hold your truth because joking is easier than caring. Real friends don't laugh at your pain, they protect it, they hold space for it, they understand that humor can heal, but only when it comes from shared understanding, not superiority. So if you find yourself feeling smaller every time you open up, and if laughter feels like a wall, not a bridge, that's not friendship. That's a spotlight you never asked to be under, and it's time to step off that stage. At first, everything's fine. You're laughing, texting, making plans, then suddenly, silence, they stop responding, they cancel last minute, they forget to include you, and when you ask if something's wrong, they say, no, everything's fine. But it's not fine, and you can feel it. This is the freeze out. A quiet kind of punishment that doesn't look like anger, but feels exactly like rejection. Fake friends use it as a power move to create confusion, to avoid accountability, to make you chase them, apologize for things you didn't do, or question whether you're imagining the whole thing. And that's the point, because if they yelled, it would be obvious. But silence gives them control without confrontation. It lets them hurt you while still claiming they've done nothing wrong. You'll replay your last conversations in your head, worry you said too much or not enough. You'll text them again, softer this time, more careful, more apologetic, and they'll respond eventually, cold, distant, or maybe warm, like nothing happened, like you imagined it. And the cycle continues. This behavior is emotional manipulation in its quietest form. It trains you to walk on eggshells, to self-censor, to make yourself smaller so they'll let you back in. But here's the truth. You shouldn't have to earn your way back into someone's good graces for breaking a rule you never even knew existed. Real friends don't freeze you out. They communicate, even when it's hard, even when they're hurt. They don't punish you with silence. They talk to you with care. So if someone constantly disappears when you're honest, withholds warmth to keep you uncertain, or leaves you guessing where you stand, that's not peace, that's control. And you deserve better than a friendship that only works when you're walking on ice. You start to grow. You set a boundary. You make a change. You heal. You level up. And they notice, but they don't clap. Not really. Instead, they downplay it. They joke about how you've gotten all serious lately. They roll their eyes when you mention therapy. They call you too sensitive, too deep, too much. At first, you let it slide. It's just a joke, right? They're just teasing. They've always been like that, but something shifts. Every time you bring up your progress, they shift the energy. They change the subject. Or worse, they take subtle jabs. They say things like, "You're really into yourself these days, huh? You used to be more fun. Don't let all that self-help stuff go to your head." And suddenly, your growth feels like something to be ashamed of. Like you're being fake for trying to get better. Like you're abandoning the version of yourself they liked best. The version that stayed small, uncertain, stuck. This is what fake friends do. They don't attack your healing. They erode it, not with arguments, but with tone, with timing, with backhanded praise that sounds supportive but feels like a slap. Because your evolution threatens them. It forces them to look at their own patterns, their own stagnation, their own refusal to change. And instead of rising with you, they try to pull you back down, quietly, subtly, so they don't have to own it. But here's the truth. Real friends celebrate your growth. They may not always understand it, but they respect it. They're proud of your boundaries, not offended by them. They cheer your wins, even if they're still waiting on their own. So if someone keeps dimming your shine, laughing off your healing, or making you feel guilty for becoming more yourself, that's not love. That's insecurity, projected in your direction. You don't need to shrink to stay connected. You don't need to downplay your progress to stay liked. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them fall away, because your growth is not up for negotiation, and real friendship never asks you to hide it.